Hey there, and welcome to a special Nintendo Dadcast. This one, as you can see from the thumbnail, is titled "Why Stop Collecting Action Figures." So, it's a question that I've pondered for a couple months now. Because you can still see there's figures behind me. I still have figures, but I don't collect like I used to. Like this past month, we had New York City Comic Con, and with that, we had Walmart Collecticon. And we had, I think Target was doing some drops too, and then of course Hasbro Plus, Mattel Collectibles, whatever Mattel's collecting website is called, McFarlane, NECA, all dropping, figures. And in the past, like San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, I'd be like chomping at the bit. Like I'd have my laptop open, I'd be at my computer, what I'm filming at now, iPad open, phone open, ready to go. Either if it was like one or two items from like Hasbro Pulse or somebody that I wanted to get, I'd have all those opened up to try and snag, like get in through the waiting room and snag the item. Or, I'd have a bunch of different websites open to like, I want to get a couple WWE figures from Mattel, I want to get some stuff from Hasbro Pulse, Walmart's got exclusive, and so on. But this year, I didn't really do it. I saw a couple of the announcements and things like that because I do follow some fun toy collectors like Returnia, Toy Shiz, Fig Hill, Robo, Toy Galaxy's Dan Larson, Pixel Dan, the Major Figures Brothers, things like that. Plugging for a bunch of YouTube sites that don't need me plugging for them because they're way bigger than me. But still, if you like figures, those are some really good guys to check out. They do fun stuff. So I saw a bunch of the drops, but I didn't care. Like this was literally like, even though my collecting's been winding down, this was like the first major event for collecting that I was just like, I don't really care that much. I did end up going back on Walmart. This was like hours later too, and saw that the Monday Night Wars Ultimate Edition Lex Luger was still available, as well as Booker T. Luger, I might end up canceling because I've got three Lugers. I've got the Target Legends ones. I've got one in the NWO shirt on my NWO shelf. One wearing his puffy shirt from the first Nitro because you can't see his bottom half even though it's tights, in my WCW shelf. And then in my Legend shelf, I've got the Lex Express red, white, and blue Lex. So I don't really need another Lex, but that Ultimate does look cool, and if I do end up getting the Ultimate, it'll probably replace the WCW Lex. And then there's Booker T, which I'll probably keep because I don't have a Booker T for my collection. Like, it was a weird kind of time for collecting figures. Like Booker T, when I started collecting figures again, they didn't have a Booker T available. Like, all the other ones that were out there were already like worth a lot of money, and I was like, I like Booker, but I don't like $75 worth of Booker for one figure, kind of thing like that. So I don't have a Booker T for my shelf, and I think since I've gotten back in collecting, I think there's only been like 2 or 3 Bookers released. There was the Ruthless Aggression Booker T that I never saw at one of my Walmarts, so I didn't have the opportunity to pick up. They do have King Booker, but King Booker's not WCW. I want a Booker for my WCW shelf. And then the first Monday Night Wars one that came out, I never saw. I saw his brother Stevie Ray, but I was like, I've never been a Stevie Ray fan. I'm not buying a Stevie Ray figure if I can't get a Booker to go with it, because I just don't do tag teams that way. I've got to be able to get them both. Just like if I start collecting a Ninja Turtles line, I got to get the 4 turtles in that line. If I can't get the 4 turtles, I don't want it. And then finally, I don't know what series this Monday Night Wars is going to be because this one doesn't come out till March. They finally re-released Booker, but I think he's singles Booker, not Harlem Heat Booker, which is what I'd prefer to have anyways. So I'm finally getting a Booker T. So I will probably keep that for, unless like I decide to just sell off my collection. I will keep that Booker T for, I will keep that pre-order. The Lex is up in the air, but yeah, that's all I even like looked at. I did take a look at the reissue 40th anniversary Optimus Prime, but because it's done more like the cartoon color scheme and not the original toy, I passed on it because just the trailer, even though that's cartoon accurate, doesn't look right for the toy. So easy pass for me. Plus I still have my Gen 2 one over there in front of my TV. But yeah, back to the collecting thing. So but like I said, in past years I would just be ready for it. So it was one of those things that's kind of like, it got me things like, what happened. I mean, as you can see behind me, I've got a sizable collection, and there's stuff over that way. There's 3 more Detolfs just filled to the brim with WWE stuff. In fact, let me move some stuff. I'll tilt the camera so you guys can. Actually, no, I won't. I will insert a picture. I'm not going to move everything around. I'll insert a picture of my collection in the video, so you'll get to see good stuff. But I mean, you can just see behind me, like, you can see the Spider-Mans, the Ronin Warriors, Mafex, SH Figuarts, Mezco, my Gundams. There's WWE figures coinciding with their belts, things like that. Like I said, I've got a massive collection over there. I've got Joe's over there. There's He-Mans and Marvel and Street Fighter figures over there. So, I mean, my collection's still pretty sizable. But I would say it's maybe only half of what it used to be. So it's kind of like what happened. And, I mean, first and foremost, a change in lifestyle. In 2020, I began dating my now wife. And so spending a lot more time with her, and instead of with buddies, toy hunting and fig hunting and things like that. So, I mean, that started to whittle down buying the collection. But then, she moved in, we got married, we had Bowie, and a lot of the time that'd be spent toy hunting or looking at toys on the internet to buy, things like that, are spent getting my butt whooped by Bowie because he loves wrestling, so he kicks my butt all the time. And, just spending time with the family, kind of thing like that. Because when I got back into collecting, Sean was... He's 16 now. So let's say Sean was 8 or 9. And he was at that age, and we lived in a really nice, safe neighborhood. He'd go out and play with his friends and things like that. So I'd have a lot of free time at the house. And then, on weekends where he'd go to his mom's and things like that, my buddies and I would go to cons, road trip to like stores far away, and do some fig hunting that way. So it's like there was like a lot more like me selfish time to do fig hunting, where when you've got a toddler and things like that. Because my collecting, I collected in high school and in my first couple of years of college, and then when I met my first wife and we started dating, I ended up selling up a lot of my collection just because I was done collecting, kind of thing like that. And then I didn't start getting back into it till Sean was like 7 or 8, something like that. And I'd get figures here and there, but I wasn't really collecting. In fact, it was right there, the Master of the Universe William Stout collection, that got me back into collecting. When those, because my buddy Nelson, who those of you who remember the Clash of the Nerds days, he was the big fig collector, and so he would show me like Toy Galaxy on YouTube and Foosh with Robo and stuff like that. So he'd show me those things. So I was kind of like tapped in, but not really collecting. It was kind of like watching from far. It's like, oh, those figures are cool and everything like that. And then I don't even remember how I found out about the announcement, but that William Stout collection, because as I've said many times, I wanted movie He-Man figures when I was so little and things like that. And, they didn't exist because of likeness rights or whatever. So that's what actually got me back into collecting when those happened. And then just kind of like exploded because I had free time, disposable income, things like that. So I bought a lot of figures and had a massive collection. But then, like I said, priorities changed and things like that. And then 2022, we decided to move. A big move. We moved from Northern Virginia to Central Virginia, which is a couple hours away. And even though our house is nicer and bigger, because you can afford more when you get out of Northern Virginia, it doesn't have a basement. A lot of houses around here, because of all the lakes and rivers, do not have basements because of flooding. So I didn't have my big basement anymore like I did at the old house, which had my games and my collections and things like that. So I did have to downsize before we moved. And part of the downsizing, because I do have this lovely 3rd floor for my game collecting, but it is, I would say it's probably a quarter of the size of my basement. Being generous, maybe even less than that. But yeah, so I had to cut down my collecting because I'm not one of those collectors. I don't like storing stuff in bins. I know a lot of collectors do, and they kind of rotate their collection. But I 2 things about that, which is why I don't do that. One, I'm too lazy to do it. A lot of times once I set a figure up, it stays there unless I decide to do a big like remodel kind of thing like that, because any figure collector knows sometimes, even with stands, sometimes like getting a figure in the perfect pose and the perfect position on your shelf is tedious and frustrating when it falls, and you don't want to move it once you get that perfect position set. So that's one of the reasons, kind of lazy. But also, my thought when it comes to collecting, if I can't display it all the time, kind of what's the point of having it? Because if I can like buy something new and be like, oh, well, I need room for it, I'll take this figure and put it in a bin, put it in the attic, kind of thing like that. To me, that defeats the purpose of collecting, because obviously you don't care enough about that item to keep it out all the time. So why even have it in your collection? And so that was part of the thing for moving, because I had this space. I have the space to do all that, or I had the space to do all that, and now I don't. So I really, had to downsize, and part of that, it kind of like had me like really take stock of my collection to know what I really, really loved and what I just liked and kind of had. And so it was like my Star Wars, the majority of my Transformers and Master of the Universe figures, and other lines where I just had a couple figures because I thought they looked cool. From those, I sold off, and before we moved and stuff like that. And so where I still have a few He-Mans and Skeletors, that's it for Master of the Universe. I don't have any of the other characters. And quite frankly, now the way my collection's evolved, I don't want any of the other characters. I just like having a variety of He-Mans. And just to kind of say the variety of He-Mans and Skeletors, I've got some originals from the 80s, the 2000 series, the new Origin series, some of the Matty collectors, He-Mans and Skeletors, and the modern stuff. So it's kind of like I got a representation of every era of He-Man, plus the movie one down there. So I just think that's kind of a cool collection to have. And then my Transformers, I just have like a few of my favorites. A couple different Optimus, like I have my it's Gen 1 style, but it's Generation 2 Optimus Prime. No idea my Generation 1 was given away by my dad because he accidentally took the wrong box of toys to Goodwill when I was a teenager. But I've got like some original Gen 1 Transformers like Optimus, Starscream, Hot Rod. Had a Bumblebee, Bowie stole it. So it's Bowie's now. And Soundwave. I did have a G1 Megatron, but that was going for way too much money when we were moving. I was like, that can get sold. So I did sell that. And then I have some like newer versions of Megatron, Optimus, Hot Rod, Grimlock, Starscream, and Galvatron. Kind of like, just like the faves, and Bumblebee. Just the faves that I have in there, and like keeping the collection low. But it was like when I was zeroing in, it's mostly wrestling figures and a couple, Marvel and DC guys, and some Joes. But it really like helped me zero in my collection to where I wasn't buying everything, and there wasn't this FOMO that I used to get when something I would pre-order something or buy something because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna want that. And I kind of did that with some HasLabs. The one with the sword, I cannot think of the name for the Japanese one. Star Saber, I think. I got that one off of HasLab because I thought it looked cool. And then I also got the His Tank off HasLab. And by the time both of them, were made and shipped and I got them, I ended up selling them because by the time I got them, I'd already like narrowed down my collection. I didn't have room for the His Tank. I was just like, where am I going to put that His Tank? So I just kind of downsized, because I was downsizing some of my Joes anyways to only like kind of like the Transformers, only the favorites. So there are more favorites with the Joes than there are Transformers. And then Star Saber, it was really cool. It's it was only Japanese release back in the day. Really cool looking Transformer, but again, it's big, it's massive. I didn't have that like nostalgic feel for it. I just thought it looked cool. So by the time I got that added to the collection, it was just like, I don't really want this anymore. So I sold them both, and don't regret it. There's no FOMO there. Like when I see people post theirs, I don't be like, oh, I should have kept that. None at all. Especially with like the added HasLabs they've done for the Joes at the 6-inch scale. I'm just like, oh, glad I sold that His Tank, because I'd be tempted to buy this, I'd be tempted to buy that. But I don't anymore. And then lastly, this channel's kind of changed my collecting and kind of how I spend my hobby time now. I spend a lot more time streaming games than I ever did before. I spend more time making videos, editing videos, and also with my collecting, because I'm more video game centric, and that's kind of what I was before I got back into figures. I would not collect games. I had a few retro games that I enjoyed, but I didn't have like the massive collection I have there. And that's just Nintendo stuff. Like I've got Xbox, PlayStation, Sega stuff all over there. But yeah, so like starting the channel, because like before I started moving, I decided I wanted to collect all the N64 games. I don't know, can't really remember the genesis of wanting to get all the US released N64 games, but that kind of started the video game collecting back on. And what I do like about collecting retro games, there's a lot less FOMO than collecting action figures. Because I'm like, oh, this is dropping, this is dropping. It's kind of like I can wait and see. I can pick up a game here or there, wait for deals, wait for like the collecting bubble to do the ebbs and flows, and grab some more of the expensive games on the cheap. Because I'm not much like the action figures. I don't collect this to flip. I collect it out of a joy of collecting. So I can definitely take my time with that and not worry about missing out on things. Where with the action figure community, when a new series comes out, especially with no Toys R Us's here in the U.S., you have to, if you see it, you got to grab it because you might not see it again at retail price. So there was that, and so like just the more time spent with gaming has made it less likely that I need to pick up these figures anymore. So that's taken up something. Like that whole shelf right there used to be figures, and now it's N64, Switch, and some GameCube games, and a Nintendo 64 DD cart. Woo! Grail. So it is one of those things where my habits have changed, and just in general, like I spend more of my free time playing games now than I do looking for games or collecting figures, things like that. Like I said, streaming, making videos, and things like that. So it's just a change of habits, change of hobbies. Why I got out of collecting, and I'm not like fully out of figure collecting because, like I said, I've got a couple pre-orders. Not many. This 2024 is the lowest year of pre-orders I think ever. Because generally speaking, like coming up to the end of the year, I'd just go to my Big Bad Toy account and I would just see tons and tons of pre-orders. I don't have that now. I've got one from Big Bad Toys, I think 2 from Amazon, and then 2 from Walmart. That's all the pre-orders I had. Because I actually went through and looked at my pre-orders that I have. In fact, I even went through, like when I was doing that, I canceled some because I pre-ordered them because I wanted them when the pre-orders went live, and then as they, as we get closer, or not even close, well, I mean, we are getting closer to release date, but there's still a ways out, and I was like, I don't really want that anymore. So it's, it's one of those things. So it's just change of habits and just change of taste, kind of thing like that. So I'm more focused on, doing this kind of content thing and doing video games and playing games on Twitch and making videos about video games. So that has changed my habits. So that's kind of been like the third strike for figure collecting. Like I said, I'll still get some periodically, but I'll pop in to the toy section if I'm at Walmart or Target. Sometimes, like the last couple times I've gone in, got what I wanted, and gotten out. I haven't felt the need to let me see if there's any new WWE figures there, or what kind of Marvel Legends might they have, because every once in a while new Wolverine comes out. I'm like, might want to get that. So that's kind of changed. So, but yeah, so that is my video on why I stopped collecting action figures. In the comments below, let me know what you collect. Have you changed your collections? Have you started collecting one thing and then you moved to something else and sold off your old collection? I know some people with the thrill of collecting, because I know Scott the Waz has talked about with his video game collecting video about he's been tempted to sell off his entire video game collection and then start again. If I ever sell off all my action figures, I am not starting again. I'm just gonna be like, I'm out, I'm done. Too hectic. But yeah, so let me know about your collections below. Do you have multiple collections? Have you started one, quit, started a new one, kind of things like that? What are some of your favorite things to collect? Just let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share. As always, I appreciate the views, and have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye now.